When we were growing up and things did not go our way, my father, who was never short of a quick turn of phrase, was never without a quick turn of phrase, whenever we'd say things, this isn't fair or that isn't fair, he would look at us and say, well, nobody ever said life was fair. And that's true enough. Sometimes life is not fair. And, today's gospel, the vineyard workers who worked the whole day bearing the work and the heat assumed that they would get a larger wage, since the ones who worked only since 5 o'clock got the usual daily wage. And human nature being what it is, one might certainly assume that. But the landowner is free to do with his wares as he wishes. And the fact that he decides to met out his generosity in this way should be of no concern to the ones who were there the whole day, because of the fact that they had agreed upon the usual daily wage. And this parable, as all parables are, pointing out to a larger reality, and this reality is the generosity of God, which is not to be undone. And also, not only the generosity of God, but also the fact that those who have been administering the law, Jesus is speaking this parable to those who not only have been administering the law, but those who have been kind of at it for a long time. And, this new way has come into being. And so there is that sense that those who have been around a long time will have a leg up on those who are just new to the game, if you will. And this can be the case with, I've found in my experience, with those in the RCIA. One might kind of look askance and say, well, they're kind of late in the game, but they've come into the game. They've made their way into the family, and so their reward will be the same as ours. Those of us who are cradle Catholics, those of us who have been at it our whole life, and we should be grateful at the generosity of God. We should marvel at the generosity of God and not wonder why God is, calling them to this life, instead of celebrating the fact that God's generosity is not to be undone. We as a people of faith can fall prey to human thinking, to limited thinking, whereas the infinite wisdom of God is something well beyond our capabilities of trying to figure out. And we do not know who it is that God calls, but the fact that God calls folks to a relationship is really between them and God. And we as a people of faith would do well just to focus in on our own relationship with the Lord, the work that we are called to do, because each one of us are called to go out into the vineyard. Each one of us are called to labor for the Lord. Each one of us in our own way, because of our baptismal call, are called to use our gifts, our talents, our abilities to build up the kingdom of God, to build up that vineyard that is the kingdom of God. And we should do well to do this work here and now, and not wait until the last minute, because by then it may be too late. We cannot, while we marvel at the generosity of God, we cannot assume the generosity of God, because God does as God wills. And at times that the mind of God is something that is baffling to us. It is beyond our capabilities of understanding. But we need not worry ourselves with the mind of God as far as trying to figure him out, as far as trying to understand his motivations, because God has that big picture in mind. He sees all, he knows all, and he has set the path already before us. All we need do is have the trust to walk it. may we as the people of faith come to recognize the opportunities God gives to us to work in the vineyard, to labor for him, receiving our just daily wage, receiving our daily bread, if you will. And in doing so, of trusting that the Lord in his goodness, his mercy and love will call others to the vineyard. And in doing so, will give them their just due. May we as the people of faith rely and trust in this goodness always, so that one day, as we labor in the kingdom of God here on earth, that one day we will share in the fullness of that life in heaven.